Hi guys, welcome to another Divi theme video. This is Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Well, we had a question. Somebody saw on one of our earlier videos we had a big old bouncing button like this that changes color when you hover over it. And well, when I click on it, it's just going to link to my little contact form down below here. Somebody wanted to know how that was done. Really easy. So let's get started. I'm going to enable the Visual Builder. Let's roll on down and we'll get rid of this little button right here and we'll start from scratch. Okay, I've got a section here, the blue tab. Inside the section, I've got a row with two columns in it. The one on the right is bigger than the one on the left. I'm going to add a new module. You can use any module you want for this today. I'm going to use a blurb module purely because it's got an icon included with it. Move this over here. Obviously, put what you want it to say there. Try and spell it right. And contact-wise, so and so, we can help. Obviously, whatever it is you want to say for yours. Down below, we've got image and icon. I'm going to use an icon for mine by flipping the little switch here to on. Let's find a help icon. Choose whichever one you want that works for you. I'm going to use that one right there. Fantastic. Okay, I'm kind of using this whole module as a button, so I am going to put a link in. If I just save this, you can link it obviously anywhere you want. I've got a little section down here with a contact form. I've given this section a CSS ID. If I go over to the advanced CSS ID in classes, I've given this an ID of contact, so I can link to it with that button. That's what I'll do today. So to link to that section with the ID of contact, go back into our button, back down to the link. Don't want just the title there. You can have separate for the title and the whole module if you want to. I'm just going to put in hashtag as it's a CSS ID, and then the actual ID itself, which was contact. Always best practice, if you're linking to your own site, leave it in the same window. If you're linking off-site to somebody else's site, open it in a new tab. That way your site's going to stay open. Great. Background wise, I'm going to make it just a blue background here. I'm going to kind of overwrite this with my CSS styles in a minute anyway, so it really doesn't matter. I want to pop everything in the middle and make it a little more legible. So let's go over to design there. I'm going to go down to text, which will do everything at once. If I just want to flip it from dark to light, which will make it white. That's a bit easier to see. And let's give our text a little bit of text shadow just to make it stand out there. Great. Well, let's pop everything in the middle. My little icon is a little bit too big for me. Obviously, adjust yours how you wish. I'm going to roll up just from text, still under the design tab, image and icon. Color's fine. Obviously, you can style these separately, both the title text, paragraph text or content text, and the icon. I'm going to take my icon down to about 50 pixels with the icon width here. Just put in the 50, it'll put in the pics for you. Okay, well that pretty much works for me. I want to tighten that up just a little bit so it's not quite so far apart. I'm going to go into my little title there by hitting the little paintbrush, quickest way to get to it. Otherwise it's under design and title text right there. Well, I'm going to make it bold, I think, just to make it stand out a bit more. And perhaps capitalize it. And let's take that line height down a bit so it tightens up everything. We roll down a bit. Here's the line height. We can increment down and get it smaller by doing this. I think that's going to work for me, something like that. Great. Okay, well, I want this to be a circle eventually. And to make something into a circle, we need to start off with a square. So let's give this a fixed height and width. Still under the design tab. We can close up our text here. Let's go down to sizing. I'm going to make mine 300 pixels wide. Put in 300, but you'll have to type px on the end. Otherwise, it'll put in the % sign for you there. So let's just type px because I want it 300 pixels wide, not 300% wide. And I want to do the same thing with the height down below here. So just put in 300. That'll actually put in pics for you, funnily enough. That's great. I want to make sure it's in the middle of whatever column it's sitting in. So I'm going to hit the module alignment there. That way when it goes down to mobile or tablet, if it collapses into a column on its own, it's going to be nicely in the middle. Great. Well, let's push this down to where we want it. Kind of want my little icon to be in the middle here. We can do that with spacing. So if we close up sizing, spacing is just below. Let's try giving it 100 pixels. Again, I'm just putting in the 100. It'll put in the pixels. So it's pretty close. These go down a little bit more. 120 maybe. We'll see. When we make it into a circle, it's either going to look right or not. So let's make this into a circle now. To do that, we can just go below to border. If you've got this little chain highlighted like it is by default, we can go in and do all 4 corners at once. This time we're going to put in 50 and the % sign. And that makes it perfectly round. Yeah, I think my little icon there is about where I want it. Obviously adjust yours to your needs. Great. Well, we've got our little button now. And it's linking, or hopefully linking to our section. We'll test that on the other side in a minute when we exit the Visual Builder. Let's now write the code to animate it. We'll go over to Advanced. Down to Custom CSS, Divi has now just added a new tab called Freeform CSS, so you can put more complex CSS in here, which is great because we don't have to use a different code module or our additional CSS panel. They've also got a free AI coding thing that they've just started. If you want to play with that, do. It's great. I'll just demonstrate quickly. I'm actually going to write this manually. Let's click on the AI and say, hey, this bounce infinitely and change color from red to blue on each bounce. See what it does with that. Let's generate the code. It's actually done it. It's done it to the actual icon itself. And that's actually quite cool. But it's not what I'm looking for today. So let's refine this result. Let's say keep content white in color. And apply bounce the whole element. Let's try that. There we go. That's actually done a pretty good job of that. So that's a great little feature. I'm not going to use this today. I've already generated mine using manual CSS. But do play with this. It's absolutely free until you reach a certain limit, I'm sure. Free trial, and you can upgrade there. I'm going to write mine manually today. Okay, the first thing I really need to do is give this a class name so we can affect it. I'll do that in a moment. I'm going to create a class name of bbounce, B-O-U-N-C-E. Let's open and close some curly brackets and we can tell it what we want it to do. Well, I want it to animate, so I'm going to say animation. I want this animation to be called bounceScale because we're going to be bouncing it and scaling it up as well also. Call yours what you want, but it wants to be unique. I'm going to have mine run over 5 seconds. You can speed it up or slow it down there. And I want it to keep going and going, so I'm going to say infinite. Great. Well, let's build this animation that we call bounceScale here. To do that, let's drop down. Let's say at keyframes, because that's what we're using to build it, keyframes. Then the name of the animation. Then we can open some more curly brackets. Inside, we can tell it what we actually want it to do. It's pretty easy today. At 0% and 100%, I'm going to have it in its normal position with a background color of blue. So let's say 0%. Comma and 100%. And we'll open and close some more brackets here. I'm going to say background color. I'm going to say blue. Obviously put in whatever rgba or hex colors you want to put in yours. I'm just using blue for simplicity. And to actually move it, we're going to use transform translate. And like I say, initially I don't want to move it at all. So let's say transform translate, which means move basically. So we'll allow brackets at the end there by how much we actually want to move it. Well, initially, like I say, at 0 and 100%, I want it to be in normal position right there. Let's copy this there. And I'm going to drop down. Make sure you've got a curly bracket on the end because that ties all of this together. So I'm going to drop down there, and then we're going to say 50%, which is halfway through our 5 seconds, 2.5 seconds after the page loads. I'm going to change the background color to red, and I want it to transform, translate, or move by negative 20 pixels. So it's going to jump up basically by 20 pixels. So I'll say negative 20 px, and again adjust that for more or less, however much you want it to bounce. I'm also going to add a bit of box shadow so that when it jumps up, it looks like it's got a little bit of shadow under it. So let's put a colon at the end. Always put a colon at the end of each little piece of code within some curly brackets, or it will not read the next one if you don't do that. So let's say box shadow. I'm going to say left and right. I want it to be central, so I'm going to say 0 pix. I'm going to have quite a big spread, so I'll say by 20 pix down, and I'm going to give it 10 pixel spread, and I'm going to make mine say 444. I might adjust that in a minute. Okay, and you may have noticed absolutely nothing's happening. Well, the reason nothing's happening, we haven't given it this class name. Once we give it this class name, it should start animating. So let's Control C to copy. We'll go up just above our custom CSS, is CSS IDs and classes here. Make sure you put it in class name, not ID. And there we have it. Okay, we've got a bit of a problem there. It's doing kind of what I want, but instead of bouncing up and down, it's going left to right. So what I need to do, instead of where it says translate, let's go back to our code here over in Advanced, Custom CSS, Transform, Translate. I need to put a Y on there to make it bounce that way, or an X to make it do what it's doing. So let's put a Y on there. That's a capital Y just after the translate there. There it is. Let's do it on this one too. Great. Now we're bouncing up and down. That works perfectly for me. That box shadow is slightly dark. Let's go in there and just take the opacity down. As you can see, we've got a little color selector here. If you left click on it, little dotted or variegated slider here is opacity. Let's bring that down a little bit so that shadow's not quite as pronounced, but it's still a shadow. Something like that works for me. Great. And finally, when they hover over it, I want it to stop and turn green. And that's entirely up to you. So we can create a hover one. Let's copy our one at the top here, the bbounce up there. We're going to drop down at the end of our little animation there. Make sure you're not inside of it. I'm going to put that there. Right at the end of bbounce there, our class name, I'm going to put a colon, no gap there. And again, no gap in the word hover. And I'm going to say animation none. That's if you want to stop it. Now when I hover over it, it'll stop. And we can give it a separate background color if you want to. And you can do that in here, or you can do it under content on background. I'm just going to call mine background color green. Let's just grab background color blue up there. We'll paste it in down here. I'm going to change the blue to green. Obviously, again, put in whatever color you want now. It'll stop and turn green when we put our mouse on it. Fantastic. Well, if we've done everything correctly now, that should work for us. Save our changes here. Hit the little purple button. Save draft or publish if you're ready. And let's exit the Visual Builder. If we roll on down, there's our little bouncing button. It's got the box shadow. When we hover over it, it should stop, turn green. If I click on it now, it should take us down to that little section down below, our little contact form. Really easy to do. Like I say, that's a really eye-catching feature. Of course, that animation will work fine on tablet and mobile also. You want to check it out? Let's hit my F12. Here it is on an iPhone 12. I've got it scaled up to 150%. As you can see, it's bouncing away there. If I click on it, it should take us to our little contact form section. Let's have a look on an iPad. Let's roll back up. There's our little bouncing button. Again, we'll hover. It'll stop, take us to our little contact form there. I hope you've enjoyed this today and found it useful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, ring the bell, comment, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Don't forget, if you have any questions, pop them below the video. I'll do my best to answer them for you, or make a little demo video like this. Once again, this has been Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.